Hello and welcome to Yorkie Today.
Our top story, we'll be going live to the count of the local elections. It's been a tense 24 hours whilst York residents have been having their chance to vote for the matters that are important to them.
This election is particularly exciting as experts warned that national issues could influence people's votes, and it's up in the air as to which of the three main parties could win.
We'll be updating you with all the latest. Also today, 5 bodies have been recovered from the River Ouse in the month of April alone, 3 of which have been students. We'll be hearing from the Health and Wellbeing Officer from York St John, who feels more needs to be done to protect student safety.
And as York has been placed 144th in the national recycling table, one York mother thinks we should be doing more. Now, the local elections are particularly interesting this year in York. At the moment, the council is run by a Tory-led coalition with the Liberal Democrats, yet Labour remain the largest party. Experts predict that all 3 main parties have some chance of winning full control of the council. We'll be going live to the counting station with our reporter April Coward shortly, but first, here's a roundup of what's at stake in these local elections.
Voting opened yesterday at 7 a.m, running through till 10 p.m. The votes are currently being counted, and so far, 1 independent seat and 1 Lib Dem seat has been announced. In previous years, there's been a Lib Dem Conservative coalition. With the 3-way marginal, there's room for anybody to come into power today.
I've fought hard, fought the campaign hard. I've lived in Cotmanthorpe for 35 years. I've been on the parish council since 2010, and I've been a ward councillor for Cotmanthorpe for the last 4 years. And I'm really honoured and amazingly pleased to be an independent councillor. I think residents of Cotmanthorpe, as elsewhere, want someone who, first of all, lives in their community, secondly, understands their community, and thirdly, fights for the benefit of their community. And I believe I've done all that in the last 4 years. I'm extremely honoured to be a ward councillor, extremely honoured to be an independent ward councillor, and I think the more independence we have on City of York Council, the better decision making might be.
So why do you think it's important for people in York to vote? Obviously, we've been re-elected. It is an important thing, so why do you think?
I'm really honoured to have been re-elected now for the 5th time, and I'm the councillor for Fulford and Heslington, so that's fantastic. I would say, particularly in local elections, it is really important for residents to have an opportunity to not just say who they want to talk for them at the local council, but also obviously impacts on council services, from schools to social services to bin collections to the standard of our roads. It impacts on people's lives so that in a whole variety of ways. So it is important that people get out to vote when they can. So across the city, as Liberal Democrats, we're hoping for good results today, and that will give us a real opportunity.
It really is looking exciting. Now let's cross over to April Coward, who has been at the count since 10 o'clock this morning for the latest update.
So I'm here with Christian Vassie, who's just won a seat for the Liberal Democrats. How are you feeling?
Tired and excited. It's been a long week or 2 weeks.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. So you won by quite a large amount of people. Why do you think in general that it's important that people get out there and vote?
It's really important we all vote because these days here are the moments when we either shape our future or are steamrolled by it. It's our opportunity to create a future for ourselves, so that's why we should participate.
Perfect. And there's been a lot of talk recently about lowering the voting age from 18 to 16. What's your opinion on this?
Well, I didn't used to feel kind of really upset about it, and then over time you just see the appalling decisions that are made by my generation and those older than me. And they're making decisions like Brexit, like climate change and environmental issues that actually affect you far more than they affect the older people who are saying they're the ones who should choose. And it's no longer, we can't keep up like that. It's just not fair apart from anything else. And the idea that young people don't have ideas and can't form a sentence is plainly stupid. So,
yeah, thank you. Well, congratulations on winning the seat. I'm April Coward, back to the studio.
We'll have more on the local elections later when we'll be joined by politics lecturer Chris Kirkland, who'll be explaining the significance of today's results for York.
The country's biggest cycling tour, the Tour de Yorkshire Women's Race, is underway today. Our reporter Emily Law has more.
The 2019 Tour de Yorkshire is running this weekend from the 2nd to the 5th of May. The shift towards residents hopping on their push bikes has sparked interest from MPs who are now supporting campaigns such as Get Cycling. This has also been great news for bike shops such as Cycle Works.
Cycling's pretty big in York. The council are pretty big because there's lots of cycle lanes around the city for safe cycling. There's also a great road scene around York, and sort of around York there's some great roads to ride on. Up at the university as well, they've got great facilities up there with a velodrome and a 1 kilometre crit circuit. So I would say cycling in the city is really big, yeah. If you're cycling into work every day, you're getting your exercise without knowing it. You know, so instead of travelling on the bus, you cycle in, you don't have to join the gym or anything, you arrive at work feeling fitter, happier and healthier.
Cycling has become more popular in York in recent years due to the Tour de Yorkshire, which runs from Barnsley to Beedale this weekend. One woman who agrees that cycling is on the increase and should remain that way is a York mother and cyclist, Claire Pearson. Do you think it's important to cycle as a family? Do you think that's quite good for the children?
Yes, I mean for me, it's a form of exercise that I've kind of managed to incorporate into my life without feeling like I'm having to give up huge chunks of time to go out and do it on purpose. And of course, yeah, I mean, it's good. It's good if we can cut down car journeys, isn't it? And if everyone can do it for health reasons, really. I mean, I do worry that I think I'm doing something healthy, and then you're cycling in amongst all the traffic, and I'm wondering, you know, what's it doing to my lungs? You know. But anyway, yes.
That's great.
Okay.
And now for the news in brief.
It's been exactly 1 year since Spark York opened, and it has been one of the most popular yet controversial topics this year. Spark is a modern container village which offers local businesses a space to thrive and develop, offering cheaper rent and a hip venue to debut their brand. Today they'll be celebrating by having an open mic night this evening.
Yet another York High Street store has announced its closure. The shop Toy Master has joined other stores such as Dorothy Perkins and BHS, losing their place on the York High Street.
And York City Football Club have announced the list of players they'll be retaining and releasing ahead of the 2019-2020 season, with fan favourite John Parkin amongst those not being offered a new deal. The Minster men finished the season 12th in the Vanarama National League North, the 6th tier of English football. In the past month, river safety in York has become a bigger issue than ever before. With 5 deaths in April alone, it is clear that action needs to be taken. Our reporter, Marty Murphy, has been looking into what we are doing in York to increase river safety.
The push for more river safety is underway and everyone has something to say. Olivia Bowers, President of Wellbeing at York St John University, says more people need to be aware of how to deal with accidents.
When we found out about them, I sit on the York Water Safety Group, which is run by the council, and we were speaking about how can we educate students more and how can we make a greater awareness. So the campaign that we're going to be doing in Monday is definitely off the back of the amount of deaths that have been happened in the river. In terms of like what the union is doing and the university is doing to prevent our students drowning in the river, is firstly we're getting our security team trained up in rope water line throwing, so that if it happens, a student can ring the security team and they can go straight down and help the student get out of the river. We're also working with the clubs that we kind of have a partnership with, and we're now only allowing clubs to be a part of our partnership if they are trained in water safety, to try and prevent our students from going in the river. Because if we know if they do go in the river, then on a night time, then our clubs will be able to look after them safely. And then in the terms of prevention for students, I think it's more educating them, so telling them that you need to float, you don't need to mess around, that is almost worse for you. So on Monday it's almost part of it being trained up and being aware of what you can do if your friend goes in the river or if a person goes in the river. And then the other half of it is really educating students about what to do if it happens, what to do if they're in it, and little survival tips really.
Labour MP Rachel Maskell believes there are multiple factors as to why the number of river deaths are rising.
Well, when I've talked to the agencies, they obviously highlight a number of issues, and mental health is a major factor involved in, I believe it's around 85% of people who find themselves in the water. So we've got wider issues around ensuring that we've got a properly resourced mental health service.
We are now joined in the studio by Chris Kirkland, politics lecturer at York St John University.
Hi Chris, thank you very much for joining us. So would you say that the local election results are mirroring the national results?
I think what we've seen so far, and of course results are still being counted as we speak, but what we've seen so far is they broadly match the trends. The Conservative Party is having a difficult night, or they've had a difficult night, and they're losing council seats, predominantly to the Liberal Democrats, who came second in a lot of contests last time in 2015.
Excellent. And what issues do you feel are specific to York this time round? Because it's been a very important election for our city.
It has been an important election. It's a very close contest. The last time the council election occurred in 2015, it was very close between the three main political parties, although the Labour Party won the most seats on the council. The Conservatives and Liberal Democrats formed a coalition on the council. So it's very tight and it's very close with respect to any political party has potential to gain seats.
Excellent. And do you still think it looks like any party could win this time around as well?
Well, it would be very difficult based upon what's occurred in the national picture for the Conservatives to gain seats needed. They would need to gain 24 seats for an overall majority. It doesn't look like they're going to be able to do that. It looks like they're going to lose seats to Liberal Democrats. The Liberal Democrats are the party with the best chance of gaining 24 seats at the end of the count, although that would be a very, very good result for them today.
Okay, excellent. Well, thank you very much for joining us, Chris. Really appreciate your time.
England has now issued a climate change crisis, and with York being placed 144th on the national recycling list among local authorities, the council is now going to try harder if it wants to become a leading green city. The percentage of household waste sent for recycling in York is 44.9%. So what more could we do to improve our status? Our reporter Ben Hart has been finding out.
The UK's target for household waste being recycled is 50%. So much more is needed to be done for York to become a leading green city. East Riding in Yorkshire is currently sitting at 65% and is the only council in Yorkshire and Humber that exceeds the UK target of 50%.
I think it's very important for us to recycle because it's something that you need to do in order to save the environment and make sure there's enough resources for my children as they're growing up. I want to keep the world in a reasonable condition for them as they get older. The council has got better, I think, lately at having bins in the city centre where you can split out your rubbish and put plastic bottles in, say. But also I think it's important to get the message across that recycling is only a part of the triangle. So you need to reuse, reduce and recycle. And all three of those together is what could really make the difference.
And so what they could do is one day a week they could say we're only going to serve plant-based materials. So the sandwiches would go from beef through to something much less carbon heavy.
Yeah.
So that'd be something that I would say a meat-free Monday type thing would be helpful.
Yeah.
I would want to look at what we can do in switching our electricity supplies to renewable. So at home, at my house in the Hull Road ward, I run the house completely on renewable electricity. So I get some off the roof, but also I buy from a company that only buys and sells green electricity. So that would be something that the council could do.
I don't know about you, but I do my part for recycling, always recycling.
I think I need to do a little bit more recycling.
Get yourself a reusable water bottle.
Yeah.
It's a bank holiday weekend coming up, so let's go over to Kate Staniforth to see what the weather has in store for us.
Good afternoon. been a very wet to miserable Friday today, and tonight is set to be the same with the lowest temperature of 1 degree. Tomorrow is likely to be the same weather, with the highest temperature being 10 and the lowest being 2. On Sunday, however, the sun is likely to make an appearance. However, it's not going to be the warmest, so unfortunately we're not going to have the bank holiday that we had the other weekend, and it's going to be very cold, so no barbecues this weekend. And on Monday it's set to be the same as today and Saturday, unfortunately. Thank you.
Well, doesn't look like it's going to be as nice as last bank holiday, does it?
No, what a shame.
Well, that's it for today. Thank you very much for watching. From all of us here, have a great, if not a bit wet, bank holiday weekend.